Professor Ciraj Rassool joins us this morning to talk about the importance of the day that we'll be celebrating tomorrow, of course, Freedom Day. And we recognize the fact that 1994 really had a significant, outplay on our entire country and how important it is. And good morning, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Very good to be here.
Let's talk a bit about that. I think one cannot overstate just how important that day was in 1994 when we all were allowed to vote for a new president in our country. Tell me about how you think that moment has affected how we as South Africans think about our history and essentially reclaim our heritage.
Well, 1994 was a watershed for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
But importantly, it opened a gateway to a new past. We saw in the public domain old institutions of the old order being transformed to tell stories of the new nation. But we also saw the creation of new institutions through which to tell the story of the South African people as a new nation was being imagined and made after apartheid. That new nation required new stories, and it required new institutions to tell those stories. And so you had the emergence of the creation of the Robben Island Museum. You had the creation of the Nelson Mandela Museum. And as we saw earlier on today's program, most recently we saw the creation of Xapo at Freedom Park. But 1994 also ushered in civic energy and new ways in which ordinary people could reflect on their past in a way that is not just inaugurated by the state. And a very important example of that in Cape Town is the District 6 Museum, which came into existence through its own energies as a means of reflecting on the past as a way to build a new society.
And I know that it's a question we ask a lot about why it's so important that even to this day we still commemorate days like Freedom Day, all our national holidays. We have the museums, the national monuments that have been built for those purposes, but why is it so important for us as a people, like you've just said now, to reflect on those moments in history?
Well, commemorative days like Freedom Day, like Human Rights Day, like Youth Day and so forth are very important markers through which the story of the nation is told. But it is also important that that story be experienced together. And so there are occasions through which the new nation is made through the new story of freedom. But new nations can't only be inaugurated through instruction. And it is very important that people participate in ways that enable their stories to be told. And so there are places where commemorations occur through participatory methods. Not just through people sitting in a stadium and listening to speeches, but where people participate in marking sites, in marching through historic precincts, and in giving meaning to the past through participation.
I like what you say, out of own initiative. Sorry, you were about to say.
No, that's fine. I think it's very important as to what you've mentioned in terms of really remembering these days, because I think most of South Africans, you know, they focus on, oh, it's a public holiday coming up, you know. And especially for me as a new father, having a young boy, I think it's very important to pass on that knowledge as to what went on in the past so that you can actually build a nation going forward with knowledge of, you know, what happened in the past.
I want to ask something like this. I mean, we have a lot of new media these days, social media platforms that allow people all across the board to express their opinion on what they feel about the current day situation. How do you feel a platform like that essentially gives people a big voice, if they will, play a role in the importance of you know, things that we're talking about, like Freedom Day, like remembering the importance of it?
The new media, considered in its broadest sense, enables new forms of participation. Wider forms of participation by the youth, by ordinary people. But what the new media does, it doesn't only enable people to participate, because it is also a system of documentation. It carries with it the possibility and also the danger of freezing the past according to a certain narrative. And what it does is that we lose some of the fluidity of how the past is understood. The most important aspect of the new media that needs to be encouraged is ongoing processes of participation and debate, so that we continually ask questions about who we are and how we understand the South African nation.
Very true. I think most importantly, we can admit that there are some of us that enjoy the privileges of a new South Africa and the benefits that come with it, but there are many more that don't. So how do those of us that can and that do extend that to the rest of our nation in that way, making sure that we are all privileged enough to enjoy a new South Africa? How do we become participative, active citizens in understanding and addressing that issue?
I'd like to introduce you to the concept of not just memory, but memory work.
Memory work.
That memory needs to occur through ongoing projects and ongoing encouragement of the broadest layers of people as possible to participate in those projects. And as I want to repeat, that is not just something that can be inaugurated by national heritage institutions. We need to promote a framework in which ordinary people can participate through local projects of memory, in which the work of memory involves asserting yourself, involves participating in projects, and it involves an active process of creating environments for participation and debate. And as I say, there are very important examples for this all over South Africa. In PE, there's the newly created Northern Areas Memory Project. In District 6, we have the ongoing struggle over the landscape of District 6 that involves the healing of a traumatized landscape of forced removal. Just 500 meters from here, we have the Tramway Road site from which people were removed in the 1960s. And so we need to find ways of encouraging ordinary people and young people to participate, because the past is exciting, the past is important, and the past lives with us even as we proceed into the future.
Very true. So thank you very much. We appreciate your insights, and we hope that you have a fantastic Freedom Day tomorrow, and that you'll be celebrating it with a run in Hermanus.
That's correct.
Do enjoy. Thank you very much for coming in. And of course, yesterday we went around asking you, what does freedom mean to you? And this is what you as South Africans had to say.